Welcome to Chapter 11, Posting and Subsidiary Ledgers. The essential outcomes for Chapter 11. You are going to post to the general ledger and subsidiary ledgers by A. Identifying accounting concepts and practices related to posting to ledgers. B. Posting separate items from a purchases, cash payments, and general journal on an accounts payable ledger. C. Posting separate items from a sales, cash receipts, and general journal to an accounts receivable ledger. D. Posting separate items from a cash payments and general journal to a general ledger. E. Posting special journal column totals to a general ledger. F. Journalizing and posting correcting entries affecting customer accounts. And G. Connecting key terms in the chapter with application. Before we begin Chapter 11, we will do a short review over Chapter 9 and 10. In Chapter 9, we learned how to record transactions using our objective evidence into our purchases and cash payments special journals. In Chapter 10, we learned how to record into special journals using our objective evidence for our sales special journal, cash receipts special journal, and our general journal. In Chapter 11, we are going to learn how to post the individual transactions in our items column and our totals into our general ledger and our subsidiary ledgers. 11-1 Accounting Terminology. Subsidiary ledger is a ledger that summarizes a single general ledger account. For example, our two subsidiary ledgers in this chapter are accounts receivable and accounts payable. The accounts payable ledger contains individual vendor accounts who a business pays on account. The accounts receivable ledger contains individual customer accounts who pay on account. Controlling accounts. A controlling account is an account in a general ledger that summarizes all of the accounts in a subsidiary ledger. The two controlling accounts for this chapter are accounts receivable and accounts payable. A schedule of accounts payable is a listing of vendor accounts, account balances, and the amount due. The schedule of accounts payable totals and the accounts payable controlling account balance in the general ledger should equal at the end of the month. To prove the accounts payable ledger and the general ledger controlling account, we will first go to our accounts payable in our general ledger and look at the balance. The balance in our accounts payable is a credit of $18,792.08. We then will go to our accounts receivable subsidiary ledger and add up the balances for each vendor to determine a total. The total in our accounts payable subsidiary ledger is $18,792.08. Because our accounts payable subsidiary ledger and the accounts payable in our general ledger equal, we have proven our ledger. Opening up an accounts payable subsidiary ledger form. We will first write the vendor name, then write the vendor number. We will record the date, which is the first day of the month. In the items column, we will write the word balance up against the left wall. We will put a check mark in the post reference column to show that this amount is not to be posted. We will leave the debit and credit dollar amount columns, the first two dollar amount columns, blank, since these columns are only used for transactions. In the credit balance column, we will write in the credit balance. If there is no balance for a vendor, then you would leave the first line blank until you record the first transaction. There are 3 journals that you will use to post to the accounts payable subsidiary ledger. You will use the purchases journal's account payable credit column. The general journal will require double posting. You will post twice, once to the accounts payable ledger account and once to the vendor subsidiary ledger account. That is why we have drawn a diagonal line in the post reference column so that we can put the account number for the controlling account on top of the diagonal line and the account for the vendor at the bottom of the or below the diagonal line. The third journal is our cash payments accounts payable debit column. Now that we have been introduced to some accounting terminology for posting, let's begin to post. We will start with our purchases journal. We will go to our purchases journal, look at the account to be credited, which is Crown Distributing. We will go to the subsidiary ledger, find our vendor Crown Distributing, and record the date. Then in the vendor account, we will record in the post reference column the page number, which will be P11, representing purchases journal page 11. Then we will take the accounts payable credit dollar amount of $2,039 and we will go to the vendor account. In the credit column, we will record $2,039. Then we will calculate the new credit balance. The last step is to go to the purchases journal and in the post reference column, record the vendor number. This shows that the amount for this vendor has been posted to the subsidiary ledger. Let us post a debit entry from a general journal to an accounts payable ledger. If we look at our general journal, we have on line 30 a transaction of $252 for accounts payable / Crown Distributing. The first step is to get this dollar amount of $252 into our Crown Distributing vendor account. So we need to update the account. To do this, we will write the date in our vendor account. We will write the general journal page number G11. We will then record the $252 debit into our vendor account. We will then calculate the new balance by subtracting the $252 debit from our previous credit balance. This will determine our new balance. The last step is to go back to our general journal and below the diagonal line in the post reference column, we will record the vendor number. This shows that this dollar amount of $252 has been posted to the subsidiary ledger. Recording or posting a credit entry from a general journal to an accounts payable subsidiary ledger. We will go to the general journal and obtain our date and then record that in our subsidiary ledger underneath the correct vendor. Then we will write in the general journal page number in the post reference column. We will then take our credit of $210 and journalize that into the credit column in our vendor account. Then we will add our credit balance and our credit column to come up with our new balance. The last step is to go back to the general journal and below the diagonal line record the vendor number to show that this amount has been posted to the accounts payable subsidiary ledger. Now it is time to post from our cash payments journal to the accounts payable ledger. We will start with our individual line items. If you look on line 5 in the cash payments journal, underneath the account title, we will see we have an entry for synthetic arts, and it is a debit to accounts payable. So we need to post this to our vendor account to update its account. First, we will write the date. Then we will record the post reference number of CP21 representing cash payments journal page 21. We will record the debit of $1,050 into our vendor account. We will calculate the new balance by subtracting our debit of $1,050 from our previous credit balance of $4,866 to come up with a new balance of $3,816. The last step is to go back to the cash payments journal, underneath the post reference column, record the vendor number. This shows that this dollar amount has been posted to the subsidiary ledger. Completed accounts payable ledger. If we look at the image, we will see that we have 6 vendors. Each one of these vendors' accounts has been updated through the month. The next step would be to figure out whether or not the total of our vendor accounts equals the controlling account accounts payable. Proving the accounts payable ledger. If we look at our schedule of accounts payable, we have a heading. We will have the name of the business, the purpose of this document, which is a schedule of accounts payable, and we will write the exact date, which will be the end of the month. Then we will list up against the left wall each of our vendor accounts. In the dollar amount column, we will record the vendor's final balance. Then, after the last vendor, we will draw a single line in our dollar amount column. Then underneath our last vendor name, we will write total accounts payable and then calculate our balance. In this case, we have a balance of $18,792.08. The total on the schedule of accounts payable should equal the balance in the controlling account, accounts payable, in the general ledger. If they do, you will double rule the schedule of accounts payable dollar amount column. If they do not, you will need to go back to find the error. Congratulations, you have just finished part 1. Please open your accounting book to page 306. You will need work together pages 253 and 254. If you need assistance, please let me know. Congratulations, you have just finished the first part of the PowerPoint.